You have $100. Not $10,000, not a windfall from a relative you barely knew, not a bonus that arrived at the right time. $100. The amount that disappears in a weekend without you noticing. The amount you've spent on things you cannot name by Monday. The amount that feels too small to matter and too tight to spare. And somehow both of those things at once. This is where it starts. Not with a strategy, not with a perfect plan or a brokerage account you've researched for 6 months. It starts with $100 and a decision that feels almost embarrassingly small given the size of what you're trying to build. You make the decision anyway. You set up the automatic transfer. You pick the index fund. You don't overthink it because overthinking is what kept you from doing it last year and the year before that. You click confirm. Nothing happens. The account shows $100. The market moved 0.3% and your $100 becomes $100.30. You check it 3 times before bed. This is the beginning, and it looks nothing like what you imagined.
The account sits there. You feed it $100 every month like a plant you're not sure is alive. Some months the number goes up. Some months it goes down. You are 6 months in and the balance reads $578 for 4 months. Untouched. And you stop thinking about it. And then you stop logging in. And then a year passes and the habit is gone. This version of you is not lazy. This version of you is human. You don't exit. You don't know yet what that decision is worth, but you will.
My name is Jude. This video is a journey through 40 years of one decision. $100 a month, every month without stopping. I'm going to show you exactly what that decision produces at year 1, year 5, year 10, year 20, year 30, and year 40. The numbers are real, the math is documented, and the part that matters most isn't the numbers. Subscribe and hit the like button if this ends up changing how you think about starting. Let's go. 12 months in, you have contributed $1,200. The account reads $1,312. The market cooperated moderately, and you gained $112 beyond what you put in. $112. You could have earned that in an afternoon of overtime. It is not an impressive number, and you are smart enough to know that and disciplined enough to stay anyway. Here is what actually happened in year 1 that the balance doesn't show. You built a relationship with delayed gratification that most people your age have not built. Every month, you had $100 that could have been a dinner and it became a contribution instead. Not because you're better than the person who bought the dinner, but because you made a specific decision about a specific $100 and you kept making it. That decision repeated 12 times is the foundation, not the $112. The foundation is the repetition. You also learned something about yourself. You learned that your life did not deteriorate without the $100. The month didn't collapse. The things you thought you needed that $100 for mostly didn't materialize. The $100 was never actually load-bearing in your monthly budget. It just felt like it was. Most people never test that feeling. You tested it 12 times, and it was wrong 12 times. That is a more valuable discovery than $112 in market returns. 26 months in, you have contributed $2,600. The account reads $3,100. The number is starting to have some weight to it. Not life-changing weight, but noticeable weight. The kind of number where you start to see the shape of something that didn't exist before. Then, the market drops. Of course it does. It drops 14% over 11 weeks. Starting in a month you would prefer to forget for unrelated reasons. You watch $380 evaporate. The account that read $3,100 reads $2,670. You feel it in a specific place that is not quite your stomach and not quite your chest. You sit with it. You don't sell. You transfer the $100 on schedule because the schedule doesn't negotiate with market conditions. That $100 buys more shares than it did 3 months ago because the prices are lower. You don't celebrate this. You just continue. When the market recovers 8 months later, your account is at $3,900. The shares you bought during the drop are now worth more than what you paid. The discipline of the down months compounded quietly. It does this every time, and you will forget this every time. And the forgetting is fine as long as the behavior doesn't change. Year 3 ends. You have contributed $3,600. The account reads $4,750. You are up $1,150 beyond your contributions. The compounding is beginning to show up as a real number, not a dramatic one, a real one. The gap between what you put in and what you have is widening in your favor, and it will continue to widen, and it will do so faster and faster. At some point, the returns stop feeling like a bonus and start feeling like a second contributor, like someone else is also putting money into your account every month alongside you. That someone is time. Time is the only investor who never misses a contribution, never panics, and never sells at the bottom. You are 29 years old, 60 months of $100. Total contributions, $6,000. Account balance, $8,200 at an average annual return of 10%, which is roughly what the S&P 500 has averaged historically. Not guaranteed, not promised, but historically real. $8,200. You have $2,200 more than you put in. You have more money saved than most Americans have right now. Not because you earn more than them, not because you had advantages they didn't, because you started a specific habit at a specific time and maintained it through 12 months of nothing and a correction that felt personal and a period in year 4 where you genuinely considered pausing and didn't. Here is what $8,200 is not. It is not retirement. It is not a down payment on its own. It is not financial freedom. People will tell you $8,200 is nothing in the context of long-term wealth, and they will be technically correct and completely wrong about what it means. Because $8,200 is not the number. $8,200 is the proof. The proof that you can build something from almost nothing over a sustained period of time without a windfall, without a high income, and without a perfect plan. The proof that the machine works if you feed it. The proof that you are the kind of person who feeds the machine. That identity is worth more than $8,200. The identity is what carries forward. 5 years in, the account is growing, and something else is growing alongside it that has nothing to do with market returns. Your relationship with money is different, not because you have more of it, but because you are conscious of it differently. Something shifts in year 2 that fully settles by year 5. The checking happens less out of anxiety and more out of curiosity. You stop monitoring for disaster and start watching for growth. That is a psychological transition that takes most people longer than it took you, and some people never make it. The investor who checks their account from fear and the investor who checks from curiosity are holding the same fund. They are not having the same experience, and they will not make the same decisions when the market drops. You also understand now that the red number on a given Tuesday is not information about the future. It is information about today, and today will pass, and the future doesn't care what Tuesday felt like. There is something harder than the market drops to navigate in these years. The distance. There is a quiet separation that begins to open between you and people in your life who are not building anything. Not because you are better, because your priorities are different now, in a way that shows up in small decisions every day. And small decisions accumulate into a different kind of life. When someone tells you they're waiting for the right time to start, you don't lecture them. You remember what waiting felt like. You remember the years before the decision. You say something quiet and true and move on. You feel this sometimes like a loneliness that you can't quite name. You are moving in a direction that not everyone around you is moving. And the movement is slow enough that no one notices it yet, including you, until you look back and realize how far you've traveled. You are 34, 120 months. Total contributions, $12,000. Account balance, approximately $20,500. You have $8,500 more than you put in. The returns are now contributing meaningfully. In the last year alone, your portfolio returned roughly $1,700 without a single additional dollar of effort from you. not from a raise, not from a side hustle, from the shares you bought over 10 years compounding into each other. This is the part they try to explain in books and podcasts and financial planning sessions, and it never quite lands until you see it in your own account with your own money. The returns are now contributing at a rate that is beginning to approach your monthly deposit. You put in $100, and in an average year, the market is returning the equivalent of $140 a month on your existing balance. Your money is making money. Not at a life-changing pace, but at a noticeable pace, and at a pace that is accelerating. Think about what you could build with $100 a month. Think about what you did not sacrifice. You did not move back home. You did not take a second job. You did not give up the things that made your life your life. You gave up $100 every month, and 10 years later, you have $20,500 and a portfolio that is growing faster than your contributions.
You are 44. You have been doing this for 2 decades. Total contributions, $24,000. Account balance at a 10% average annual return, approximately $76,000. You have $52,000 more than you contributed. The gap between contribution and balance is now more than double your total investment. You did not do anything extraordinary to get here. You did not time the market. You did not pick the right stock. You did not have a mentor or an inheritance or a break that changed everything. You had $100 a month and 20 years. And the compounding did what compounding does when you leave it alone long enough. $76,000 is a real number now. It changes decisions. It serves as a foundation. And here is the part about year 20 that is easy to miss. The acceleration is just beginning. In year 1, the market returned $112. In year 10, it returned approximately $1,700 in a single year. In year 20, the account is returning roughly $7,000 annually. $7,000 a year from $100 a month. You put in $1,200 a year and the account adds $7,000. The machine has become the primary contributor. You are almost a passenger at this point, and the journey started with a $100 transfer on a Tuesday evening in an apartment you have since moved out of.
You are 54. Total contributions, $36,000. Account balance, approximately $227,000. Over time, consistency and compound interest produced $191,000 that you never deposited, never earned at a job, and never won. You built it by doing one small thing every month for 30 years and not stopping. At 54, with $227,000 in a portfolio earning an average of 10%, your account generates roughly $22,700 annually without you touching the principal. That is nearly $1,900 a month from money that started as $100. The machine you built with pocket change is now producing income that approaches what many people earn working, and there are still 10 years until the traditional retirement age. You are 64. You have contributed $48,000 across 40 years of $100 monthly deposits. Your account balance at a historically average return is approximately $637,000 from $48,000. The difference, $589,000, was not earned. It was not won. It was not the result of a brilliant strategy or perfect timing or privileged access. It grew by time and by your refusal to stop, by the 480 small decisions you made every month when the $100 could have gone somewhere else and instead went here. Every month felt like nothing. Every month felt too small to matter. Every correction you didn't sell through. Every year that passed without drama or visible progress. Every Tuesday transfer that nobody congratulated you for. All of it stacked. All of it compounding. All of it here.
This is about the version of yourself you build when you decide that small and consistent beats large and eventual. Because large and eventual is what most people are waiting for. The bigger paycheck, the bonus, the inheritance, the moment when it finally makes sense to start because the amount is finally worth starting with. That moment does not come. And if it does come, the habit of waiting comes with it. The money disappears into a life that expanded to receive it, and nothing is built. Small and consistent is not a consolation prize for people who can't do more. It is the mechanism. It is how the machine runs.
The person investing $100 a month and the person waiting to invest $1,000 a month arrive at 40 differently. The first one has years of compounding and a permanent relationship with discipline. The second one has an intention that kept getting delayed and a savings account that kept getting raided and the uncomfortable awareness that time was the only asset that was actually irreplaceable. Time does not wait for the right amount. It runs on whatever you give it.
Let me put the full 40-year picture in one place so you can see the shape of it. Month 1, $100. Year 1, $1,312. $112 earned. Year 5, $8,200. $2,200 earned. Year 10, $20,500. $8,500 earned. $1,700 returned in the final year alone. Year 20, $76,000. $52,000 earned. $7,000 returned in the final year alone. Year 30, $227,000, $191,000 earned, $22,700 returned annually. Year 40, $637,000, $589,000 never deposited. The curve is nearly flat for the first decade. It becomes noticeable in the second decade. It becomes remarkable in the third. It becomes almost absurd in the fourth. This is what compound interest actually looks like across a human lifespan. Not a straight line, not even a gentle curve, but a shape that accelerates without stopping until it becomes something entirely different from where it began.
Here is the only action plan this video needs. It is 3 steps. Step 1. Open a brokerage account or a Roth IRA if you don't have one. This takes about 10 minutes online. Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab, any of the major low-cost providers work. Step 2, set up an automatic transfer for whatever your $100 is. Maybe it's $50, maybe it's $200. Pick the number that you can commit to every single month without drama, without negotiating with yourself, without a version of you that needs it for something else. That number, automatic, on payday. Step 3, choose a broad market index fund with low fees, a total market fund, or an S&P 500 fund. Click confirm. That's it. The machine doesn't need more instructions. It doesn't need a sophisticated strategy or a perfect entry point or the right moment. It needs to be started, and then it needs to be left alone, and then it needs to be continued. The rest is just time doing what time does. You gave it $100. You gave it every month. You gave it for 40 years. And it gave you back something that $100 could never buy, that waiting could never build, and that shortcuts could never manufacture. It gave you the proof that the smallest version of the right decision, repeated without stopping, becomes something that looks like luck from the outside and looks like discipline from the inside, and is, in the end, the most ordinary, extraordinary thing a person can do with money. $100 every month, starting now. The machine is waiting.
If this changed something about how you think about starting or restarting, hit that like button and subscribe. Every week, I cover the real math and psychology behind building wealth from wherever you currently are. And if you want to understand what $8,200 grows into when you start layering real strategy on top of consistency, the Net Worth Milestones video maps exactly what each threshold feels like and what it unlocks. That's right there. I'll see you in it.